Something very interesting is going on with this corona BS. Remember how Professor Neil Ferguson quits government role after undermining lockdown? This is the guy that produced the models telling the world that millions of people were going to die if we don't do lockdowns and all that shit. This guy was the advisor for Boris Johnson, and he, in the middle of all this pandemic, decides to quit. Then we have Scotland's chief medical officer resigns over lockdown trips. Same bullshit. What's the story going on here? But it gets better. Here in this fucked up country called Australia, we've got this clown, not this one here, Scummo. We have got the chief health officer, Brendan Murphy, who's been in the role since October 2016. He, all of a sudden, in this crisis, is moving over to another role. What the fuck is going on here? Let me just play this idiot here speaking about it.
Outside of that, this is the Chief Medical Officer's last briefing as the Chief Medical Officer. He's been in the living rooms of Australians now for many months, and I know, Brendan, you have been...
Horror. You are a horror. With that smirk, you know you are running. You are running. So when the shit hits the fan, you don't have to answer for anything, but you will. You will. You will be sent to trial just like Scummo and the rest of his mates. You can't run away from this, mate. You can't run away from this just like those other scums in Britain.
A person of great assurance to Australians, with your calm way of explaining what are often very complex things. You've given Australians, I think, a great peace of mind. Brendan is taking up the role of Secretary of the Department of Health.
He hasn't given us peace of mind. He has given us fucking hell. Who is this guy that virtually makes all the rules that we've gone through with this bullshit fucking scam? Who is this guy who's telling us that, we have to stay at home?
Which we delayed because of the seriousness of this issue and his keenness to continue on in that role until he was in a position to now hand it over to Dr. Kelly.
Why can't he just hang out in this role till all comes good again? Why does he have to run right in the middle of it?
And so I want to thank you very much, not just for the way you've reached out to Australians, Professor Murphy, but the
Reached out to Australians? No, he hasn't reached out to anyone. He has fucked our lives, just like you have, Scummo.
Standing leadership you've shown across the AHPPC, the medical expert panel, and the unfailing advice that you have provided to me and to my ministers and to my cabinet. And so,
no, he hasn't. He's just followed a script, the script that you're both reading.
Thank you very much. He told me a little story before. He bumped into a little boy, wasn't it?
A girl.
A little boy, a little girl. What a lot of fucking bullshit. As if he's going to tell him this bullshit story just before this. Bumped into a little boy, a little girl, whatever. Yeah, right.
Girl who said, "How did you get out of the television?"
As if a little girl would know this fucking creep on television. How often do we see him on television? And a little girl comes up to him and says, "How did you get out of the television?" What lot of shit is that? Have a laugh. Have a laugh, you two pieces of fucking scum.
I'm sure some of you get that from time to time, but I think it's a sign of endearment. And so thank you very much, and I'll hand over to Simo.
Thanks, PM.
Given the second spike that we're seeing in Victoria, is it a bit premature for you to leave your role?
Well, there's never a right time, Andrew. I mean, the planning for my moving was put in place several weeks ago when things were under good control. But I've got a really good team now. I've got an acting CMO, Paul Kelly, who's going to step into the role. I've got this team of our famous team of deputy CMOs who have who are all on board. Whilst they're short-term appointments, many of them, they're going to be on board for the foreseeable duration. And I'm not going. I'm still in the department, and I will still be heavily involved.
Notice the smile on his face, the drooping delight. He knows this is bullshit.
In the COVID response, I just won't be chairing the HPPC, and fortunately won't have to do so much media, I hope.
Bless you. What will it take to open the international border, which is obviously one of the last steps that will be...
There we go.
Yeah, so I think it's to fully open the international border without any quarantining or any restrictions probably will require a vaccine to be able to...
There it is. There it is. It's all about the vaccine. Oh, I knew that was coming.
To adequately protect our vulnerable people in the community, and if we get enough vaccine to develop a sufficient herd immunity. So I think until that happens, we are going to have some sort of border measures. Clearly...
That means everyone's going to get restless. No flying out of the country, in the country for over a year. Give me that vaccine, please. Please, I want the vaccine because I want to start flying again.
We have to reevaluate our strategy as time goes on. If we don't get a successful vaccine in the relatively near future, then we have to reevaluate.
But we might never get a vaccine.
Oh, that's interesting. We might never get a vaccine. Don't worry, mate. They'll give you a vaccine. It's there. It's been there, sitting there for ages. It's there. They just want to drag it on a bit. They just want to keep people going crazy in lockdown. And a second wave, that's what it's all about. Because then they want people to actually beg for the vaccine.
Yes, I think that's a possibility. I think I'm getting more confident.
You're getting more confident.
So much effort going into this vaccine development now, and there are, literally hundreds of candidate molecules and a number that are in clinical trial at the moment. And I think it's.
What about a vaccine for cancer? Is that possible? What about a vaccine for all these other things that have been around for years and years? Hasn't brought down the economy, hasn't ended up in this bullshit the way we are now because of a fucking bullshit bug. I mean, oh, fuck, this is a joke.
Likely we will get a vaccine. How effective it will be, we don't know. There may be more than one vaccine, and so there's a lot riding on that at the moment.
You are a fucking piece of garbage. On the run now. You know the shit's going to hit the fan soon, you fucking slime.